Or to the cloud. Perfect. Curious to know, what are your thoughts on the new Bard project released by Google? I've been testing it out. I like it a lot. I like that it's connected to the internet and it can read and summarize documents for you, unlike the free version of ChatGPT. I wonder if you have any thoughts on the new Bard versus ChatGPT.
I haven't touched Bard or ChatGPT. I've been using the Bing chat, which is like a wrapper around ChatGPT mostly the past month. I do have an invite for Bard, so I plan to start using that this week actually, because I just got accepted recently. But from what I understand, Google is trying to be more safe with AI, so they're not going to let you do as much random stuff and let Bard be as loose as ChatGPT is. It's the same with the Bing chat. They know to block certain things if you ask it certain questions and stuff. So there's pros and cons to that. Like they're going to restrict you in certain ways to get certain information that you want, but it might be safer overall to slowly roll out AI instead of just let it be the Wild West.
Gotcha. For the new people who just entered the room, we're just giving it a few minutes for the crowd to roll in. While we are waiting for that crowd to roll in, we're just doing some small talk here, talking AI, talking ChatGPT. Feel free to chime in if you guys have any questions, just write it in the chat. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but continue your thought.
Yeah, so one thing I like to do every day, I try to use the Bing chat every day. And I'll go ahead and try to test it out. Sometimes at work, since right now I'm learning React Native as well as Kotlin. So I'll go ahead and like try to convert Java code to one of those languages because I know how to write everything in Java right now. And like if I'm like stuck on something, I'll go ahead and ask the chat like, hey, how to convert this line in Java to Kotlin, and it does it right away. So it makes me much more productive. Like maybe something that would take me 30 minutes to figure out, the chat does it for me in 30 seconds, and then I can move on to the next issue. So that's useful. And then I try to test it out. I try to ask it like about myself, see if it will remember it. I'll go ahead and like a few weeks later to see if it remembers any of the new information, the information I told it about myself. And because that's how people are going to use it in the future. They're not going to ask it stupid questions. They're going to be like, hey, who's this guy or gal? Or hey, I have like, 5 shares in, say, Apple. What are the odds Apple will go up in 3 months? Questions like that, right? And then, or, hey, I'm going to say this. Say I'm going to London. I've never been there. Can you outline a trip guide for me? Things like that. That's what people are going to be using it for in like 2 to 3 years, right? So I'm trying to test out to see what it can and can't do right now, and as they update it, what it does do in the next versions whenever they update it, because they seem to be updating these chatbots like every 2 to 3 months. So I think everyone should just play around with it and go ahead and see what they can find out that it could do now, and just test the limits of it. So because I think in the very near future we're going to be forced to have to use it. So it's better to understand it now so you're ahead of everyone else that's trying to learn it 2 years from now.
Gotcha. That's definitely, great advice and some good forward thinking, especially for the young engineers in the room. Start messing with ChatGPT, start messing with Bard, start tinkering with it, because what you're seeing now is just, really truly a precursor to what it's going to be in the future. So I think we could
Oh,
get.
these I was gonna say the people here now, they're gonna be making the apps that are powered by ChatGPT. They're not gonna be using it. They're gonna make the apps. So they're gonna be on the next level. they're going to be making the web 3.0.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And that's exciting. I think we get the conversation kicked off, so thank you, Dimitri, for joining us. I am Jeffrey DeRose, the director at the CSI Tech Incubator. The CSI Tech Incubator is an institution focused on driving economic growth through technology education, as well as entrepreneurial support and resources. We personally believe that if we help educate you on things that are going to give you high value skills and help give you high value knowledge, you guys can all be successful in the future. Just want to give a thank you to Verizon. Verizon wanted to sponsor a workshop series focused around career development in technology for high school and college students. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you to Verizon for your continued support. I'm excited to say that this is our last event for this series. We had some great events. We did a workshop on AR and VR. We did a workshop on building a career in quantum computing. We did cybersecurity. We did data science and AI. And now we're doing a workshop on building a career in software engineering. So with that being said, Dimitri, I maybe like to let you introduce yourself, and you could jump into your presentation.
Sure. I'll definitely do that. Hi, everyone. My name is Dimitri DeRose. Let me just get the slides up real quick. Everyone can see the slides? Can you see it, Jeffrey?
Yep.
Okay. Just let me know if the chat says anything different.
Yep. Let me just say one more thing. Just a little housekeeping here. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And towards the end, we will definitely have time for Q&A. So if you want to ask a question, write it in the chat, and we'll definitely have a Q&A at the end where you'll be able to come on to, get off mute and ask your question out loud. So the floor is yours, Dimitri.
Sure. So just a little bit about me. I graduated from SUNY Binghamton University with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science back in 2011. I've been a software engineer for over 10 years. I first started at Hewlett Packard as a application support consultant. And so they sent me to various clients of theirs. First one was GM in Detroit. So I worked there for a year, built 2 Java applications for them. And then I was moved to American Airlines right after GM. And I worked over there as an HP consultant for 4 years. And there I worked in their AA cargo division, which is pretty much they have a separate section for users to go ahead and buy, how should I say, put industrial cargo. So whatever you ship from Amazon and stuff, they'll go ahead and use AA cargo, and it'll be in the same planes that you fly in for any of your trips. They have a little section for commercial cargo there. So I wrote several applications for them over there and maintained those applications. And then I moved to the financial services industry right after. I left HP, joined USAA for 1 year. And then I went to JP Morgan for 2 years before finally now I've been at Meta Platforms for about 2 years, 2 years now, 2.5 years now, actually. And at Meta, I'm currently working on the social UX VR communications experience team. So for the Meta Quest hardware, my team, we work on both the chat and party chat functionalities for that headset. And then I left a link to my LinkedIn. So whenever you guys get the slides, you can go ahead and click on that if you want to reach out to me. So what is a software engineer? Software engineer is who applies the engineering design process to design, develop, maintain, test, and evaluate computer software. Got that from Wikipedia. So pretty much, I guess some people in this chat want to become developers one day. And so this is just one of the many routes you can take with a computer science degree, and being a software engineer is definitely a very lucrative job, and it's very how should I say it? It can be challenging at times, but it can also be fun because when you see the application you develop roll out to users, you get a satisfaction that, at least for me, I get a satisfaction that I don't get for anything else. And I do like I work on a lot of challenging tasks, and just the fact that millions of users end up using whatever I'm working on actually makes me feel like I'm making a good impact on the world in general. So, what are some of the roles of and responsibilities of software engineers? So, whenever we're starting a project, we go through a phase where we get the requirements from the business side. So either a product manager or a project manager or business analyst. And from there, we have to go ahead, analyze what the business side wants us to create. And then we have to go ahead and look at our current software architecture and go ahead and see if we have to modify the architecture or build a new architecture altogether to meet these new design requirements. So after either a few weeks or a month, we go ahead and start doing our code development. So that's something you guys have been doing in school. Like, for example, your teachers will go ahead in class, give you a program assignment to do, and then you guys will go ahead, see if you see how you go ahead and implement that program assignment, and then you go ahead and start coding. After that, next step, we go to testing our code. So some people have different ways on how they want to test their code. Some people go ahead, first write their test cases first, and then develop their codes, and then make sure that their test cases are passing as they're writing their code. Other people like to develop a little bit of code first. They go ahead and write some test cases and go back and forth until they're done with the whole project. Or like many of us, most people, they wait until the last second to write their codes, their test cases, and they go ahead and write their unit test cases, and then after all their code is done, and then they'll go ahead and modify the code if their test cases are failing. So those are 3 ways to do it. You should do whatever is best for you. And so I'm sure everyone has done unit test cases here. So, it's like you go use JUnit testing or Jest or whatever programming language you have some type of way to write test cases for your programs individually. There are 2 other types of test cases, testing on top of that. There's integration testing. This is where you'll go ahead and test that you could say you have an application which needs to get data from a database. You'll go ahead and test that from the front end of your application to the back end to grab user data from the database is working in as expected. So that would be an integration test. And then we have E2E tests, which we call end-to-end tests. And then that'll be we'll testing not just our applications, but other applications all in one giant test suite, and to make sure that our changes doesn't impact another product. So we'll have end-to-end tests to ensure that as well. After that, last thing is maintaining code. So here we're going to, after testing the product, we go ahead and roll it out to the public. And if we get any bugs from the public, we go ahead and fix those bugs to improve the user experience. And if at the same time, we might want to add more features to the application. So we'll go ahead and add those features in parallel. So we'll do some tasks to fix the current application, and then we'll go ahead and add new features to make the overall user experience better. And it's a continuous cycle until that product is sunset and replaced by another one. So what are different roles for software engineer? So I'm sure many of you guys know about full stack engineers. So pretty much you're working front end, back end, and middle tier. Pretty much you'll be expected to own the process end to end. I would say this is the best starting point for developers starting out, because then you get to learn a little bit of each section, and then you could go ahead and see what you like the best. And then, 2 to 3 years in, you could go ahead and pivot to which side you want to be, if it's front end or back end. Front end engineer, they deal more with the UI. So say web developer that does CSS or HTML, those type of things, XML, or someone, if you're working on a mobile app, you're just doing the UI. Same things, you're mostly using XML for that on the mobile's front, or you're doing a little Xcode or Android Studio code, or you could actually use those IDEs to go ahead and just move the components in. So usually people who are in the front end, they like design better. So that's a good role for you if you're more design oriented. Backend engineers, if you're not design oriented, or if you're more mathematical based or analytical, you might want to be a backend engineer instead. So people usually dealing with databases, they might hook things up to the front end, but they don't really touch the front end for the most part. As you guys know, there's mobile software engineers, so pretty much people working on Android or iOS. So you could either be using, Objective-C was the old language, but you could use Swift for mobile development for iOS. You could use Java or Kotlin. Kotlin's the new language for Android. Or you could use any of these hybrid languages like React Native or Xaverian, for example, which is you write a code in one language and it will work for both Android and iOS. So there's a lot of companies that do that as well, because they don't want to sit there and write duplicate code for multiple languages. They'll just use one programming language to write their mobile software engineering code. And then there's other stuff, cloud engineer. So people sitting there going around improving the cloud infrastructure for AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, etc. There's machine learning and AI engineer, as you guys know. I'm sure you guys know already. So people who are building things like OpenAI for ChatGPT, Google Bard. Those are just chat bots. AI and machine learning is used in other things. So these are people who are much more mathematically good at writing, say, code that goes ahead and analyze huge sources of data and allow the AI to go ahead and spit out a somewhat accurate answer. As you guys know, AI is not like 99% good right now, but you could get it. You could keep feeding it enough data so it gets to a point where it's 60, 70% good now. And then maybe in 3 to 5 years, it'll be 95% good. giving people accurate answers. There's VR, AR, mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality engineer. This is what I am. So pretty much virtual reality is you're working on something like Meta Quest or HTC Vive. There's a few other VR devices. So you're just writing applications for those. Augmented reality are smart glasses. So there's not a lot out right now, but you'll probably start seeing them in the next 1 or 2 years. So those aren't like the smart glasses like that Snapchat gives you. They're a little bit better. They have a lot more computing power, and they should be able to give you some holographic data on your lenses. So that'll start becoming big in the next 2 to 3 years for sure. So keep your eyes out for that. Blockchain engineers. So if you want to work on crypto, there's blockchain engineer. Embedded systems engineer. This is like low-level machine level coding. So these engineers are paid very well, and this is for people who are more interested in working with machine code. And it can be difficult, but it's not a bad place to start your career as well, because a lot of people that do embedded engineering find it very rewarding, because they are working on things like chips and processors and getting the most out of those things to allow applications to run smoother. As you guys know, there's also game developers or gaming engineers. So pretty much making a game, either iOS or for Nintendo Switch or PS5, etc. Either most game developers, they use Unity Engine or Unreal Engine to help them develop. But there are companies that create their own engines, gaming engines, and they use that to create games. There's software engineers and tests. So if you just want to be a tester, you could go that route. Your role would be a little bit different from a typical software engineer, because you'll be focused on trying to find ways to break the code as opposed to writing the code. So you have to have a slightly different mindset than a software engineer. But a lot of people who are test engineers, they like that role as well. It's a little less code intensive, but you do have to make sure that you understand the product, and you have to find ways that a user will go ahead and utilize the product, and find ways to find bugs before they release to the public. So then the developers could minimize time they're wasting on code, as well as fixing bugs in the future. And it also makes the user experience better. So this is another highly important field. And you don't really need to do as much coding as you would for the other fields. There's application support. So there's some companies, they don't make the developers that are developing features work on maintaining the software. They have a separate team do that. So if you're more interested in that, you won't be writing any new features, but it's a good way to learn about the code and also learn how to write code better, because you'll see the type of bugs that people are introducing. And in the future, you could go ahead and avoid writing code in that way. So because you see how it affects the user experience. In the future, there's software architect. Pretty much that role is a high-level software engineer, where you're deciding how multiple applications are working together, and how you want to make your infrastructure scalable so that you could add new features without changing the infrastructure too much. So that's the role of a software architect. And then a lot of people, they eventually go into management. So they'll work as a software engineer for a while, and then they'll decide like, I'm done with coding, or I don't want to code as much. So they'll do some management where either they cut their coding by 20% to as much as 100%, depending on like what management role you want. For example, if you're a tech lead, you're probably coding more like 60% of the time, and then 40% of your time you're working with software architects and business people to get requirements and stuff like that. And you're also managing timelines and stuff like that. And then there's pure software engineers, managers, where they're just there to they're dealing mostly with the business side, talking about how they're going to implement projects and stuff like that. And then they'll go back to the engineers and make sure the engineers are creating the product on a timeline. And they do a bunch of other things like managing expenses and stuff like that. And there's many more fields. So this is software engineering is pretty flexible in what you can do, and there's a lot of opportunities there. Wanted to go over the interview process for you guys, since you guys are entry-level engineers. Will be entry-level engineers. There's two types of interview processes. There will be companies looking to hire you for specialized skill. Say they want you to be a machine learning engineer, they want you to be a Java developer, etc. And then there's going to be companies, they don't really care about that. They just care how good are you at the fundamentals. So they're going to want to see how well you can solve coding problems, if you know any system design, product design, etc. So when you're going to start to prepare for an interview, when you initially reach out by a recruiter, a lot of recruiters go ahead and tell you how to prepare for the interview, but some don't. So you could go ahead and ask them, hey, does the company have any guidance on what to prepare for these interviews? Don't be afraid to ask. Most of them will give you some type of guide, so you can know what to interview for and how to prepare for that interview. Also, you should also ask the recruiter how many engineers they're hiring for that position, so you could see like if they're hiring, say, 50 engineers, or if they're just looking to hire 1 or 2 engineers. That will give you a good idea of how of your competition out there, and how much leeway you will have if you make any mistakes during the interviews and stuff. And then you should also ask if there's any specific skill sets that is needed for you to prepare for the interview. So companies are, like I said before, hey, we want a Java developer. So, you have to, if you only know JavaScript or say Python or something, you're gonna have to learn some Java and get a good understanding of Java before that interview. Other companies, they don't care what language you use for the coding interview, and then you just go with the programming language that you're most comfortable with in that sense. So here I kind of broke it down into like what you can expect during the different interviews. Oh, I kind of messed that up. I'll fix this slide later. But this should have been specialized skills, and this should have been general software engineer. I'll fix that later. So for specialized skills, I gave an example. Say if you're on a team interviewing, asking for a software engineer that's proficient for Android mobile development, then make sure you understand Java and Kotlin, object-oriented programming, how to use Android Studio, and you can answer questions about the Android API, and possibly you have questions about the Android OS as well. Say for a more general software engineer interview, that style is more like a lead code style interview. They'll go ahead and give you a programming question. You'll have somewhere between 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how difficult the question is, to answer that question. And the interviewer is more looking to see how quickly you can answer the question and how efficiently you write your code during that allotted time period. So they're going to see how well you understand design patterns. Do you understand what data structures to use for that question? Any algorithms that you might be asked to write to see if you're writing the correct algorithm. And if you're being asked a system design or a product design question, they'll want you to go ahead and explain your design. There's really no right answers for that. They want to see how your thought process is, because one design will work for one situation and another design will work for another situation. So they might ask you might go ahead and tell them the design, and then they'll ask you like, hey, how can we scale it up to go from 1,000 users using this product to 10 million users? And that might be something where you have to rethink your design and find a way to make it scalable, for example. So like I said, there's no right answers to that, but they're more gauging your thought process on, at the end of the day, how you can make your application scalable from the system design or the product design. Here are some resources I listed that could help you prepare. One thing I always tell people, don't be afraid to work with other students preparing for interviews. Because I always find when I was working with other people to prepare for coding interviews, I always did better on the interviews because I felt like we were bouncing off ideas to each other. Whenever one of us learned a new way to write the code more efficiently, we shared it as a group. So I strongly recommend that to everyone here. And I just wanted to show you some of the sites and how to walk around the sites and how it can improve, just for you guys to see how you guys can use them. Give me 1 second.
Someone did have a question in the chat while you're looking that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prince asked, what questions do you use on a daily basis at Meta?
What questions do I use on
what languages do you use?
Oh, okay. So at Meta, I'm mostly right now I'm using 3 programming languages, to be honest. 2 months ago, I was mostly using Java, and we were converting a lot of the Java code to Kotlin. And so I'm currently writing a lot of new code in Kotlin for some of our VR UI components. The past month, I started working on the mobile app as well. So for that, we're using React Native because the mobile app works for both Android and iOS. And so those are the 3 programming languages I write now. There's a 4th one that people on my team write. It's similar to PHP. That's more server-side work. I don't personally dabble into that yet, but I have a lot of teammates that do. So that's another language people use at Meta. So those are the 4 main ones that people use right now at Meta. And there's special developers. They're either using iOS as well. They're writing code in iOS if it's purely a product that's just for iOS. And I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's other languages being used, but I'm not aware of them because I'm not sure what the people who are who are using the AR glasses, what are they writing their code in, for example. Um, and I'm not sure what language the people. I think the people who are writing artificial intelligence and machine learning stuff, they're either using Python or R as well at Meta. So there's multiple languages being used at Meta at all times. Um, so um, I hope that that answers the question.
We have one more question, and I'll let you get
Yeah,
back
go
to the
ahead. Go
presentation.
ahead.
Raymond, I'm gonna unmute you, and you could ask your question out loud. It's a little more interactivity.
Definitely. Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you, Raymond.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your time. I appreciate you joining in. So basically, so my situation is I'm looking to transition into a career in tech. And like I'm a self-taught coder, so I use numerous platforms like Codecademy, Free Code Camp, and I also joined like a mini boot camp with the New York Public Library. I try to make it as short as possible. Like for individuals like me who's inspiring, try to break into a career in tech, is it specifically a software engineer and coder, like what resources would you recommend similar to that, and or even like some sort of a pipeline to try to kind of get maybe land like an entry-level internship or an entry-level role? I know it's a little bit of a loaded question, but
No. That's fine. That's fine. So some companies they have positions for people like you. Like Meta, we have this program called rotational software engineer. There's a rotational management program as well. So there's a rotational software engineer program where someone like you who is self-taught can go ahead, interview for Meta, and if they feel like you have enough potential, they'll go ahead and hire you, and then you're like on a 1-year program where you go ahead, work with a team as the software engineer um, over 6 months for 2 different teams. That will make a year. And during that time, they want to see you progress as an engineer. And if they see you progress after 1 year, they'll go ahead and give you a new full-time offer. I know Capital One has another program, for example, where I think it's called Capital One CODA, CODA. I actually have a coworker who was in your position. He got a degree in something else, and after a year, he decided he wanted to be a software engineer. So he found out about this Capital One Coder program, and they took him in, taught him how to code. I think it was for a 4-month period, he said, and then they put them on a software engineering team. And he worked there for a few years. When I was working at JP Morgan, I had coworkers who had went to coding boot camps like Flatiron School or App Academy, etc. Learn from them in their 6-month program, and then was able to find a job after they completed their boot camp. So there's multiple ways for you to get into the software engineering industry. You don't have to just get a software engineering degree. So that's one. That's just one part of your question. How can you get good? So this was the part I was going to get it to. So for example, I'll go back to the slide real quick. If you use like these resources that I have listed here, this will give you a leg up on everything. I would say the first thing you should do, buy this Cracking the Coding Interview book. This will literally teach you how to interview with these companies, how to think through problems, etc. And it will also tell you what the companies are looking for. And so once you give that book a read, start doing LeetCode or HackerRank or Top Coder, and work on making sure you know your data structures and algorithms, and also make sure you could write your code efficiently, because this is what interviews will care about. Once you're good at that, you won't have any issues. This mock massive open online courses. If you want to go ahead and actually learn, brush up on some skills that you feel you're weak on, like for example, say you're bad at linked lists, you could go ahead, go on a mock that teaches algorithms, and go ahead and check out the videos on algorithms and data structure, and look for the one that's on, say, linked lists, for example, and then go ahead and work on that until you understand linked lists. And then you go back to LeetCode, practice your linked lists, or HackerRank, practice your linked list problems until you're good at it. And then you go on to the next step until you're just good at all the aspects of that. While you're working on improving yourself as a software engineer, you could also go ahead and go on Fiverr or one of these sites where you could go ahead and build a small application for someone for a few dollars here or there. Or, well, it won't be a few dollars, but someone will ask you to build like a website for $100. You could go ahead and do that. Go ahead and build a portfolio and show to put on your resume to show the company that, hey, you've been doing some work and you've been getting paid for this work, and hey, this is my website I built, etc. For these clients, just to show them that you're actually able to go ahead and transition from not being a software computer scientist to someone who actually knows how to write code and actually can build a product for users. So that's what I would do if I was in your position, and that's what I recommend to friends as well. I hope that answers your question, Raymond. Okay, let me go back.
You might be back
to him.
But no worries. Yeah, I think that answered the question. This one person asked another question. I think Alan.
Yeah,
Alan, we'll come back to Alan's question. I don't want to take you too off track.
No, go ahead. No, just ask. I prefer the questions. Go ahead.
Sure. Alan, I'm going to unmute you, and you can ask your question out loud.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you, Alan.
I was gonna ask, like, how important is a degree or like a master's degree, like in getting a tech job? Like, I heard that it helps negotiate salary, but like, how important is it to actually land the job?
So this is a two-part question. So I would say that if you're not on a visa, it's not really important at all. So I would say, like, you working for 2 years you'll probably end up with the same amount of money as you would if you had went to school for 2 years and got the graduate degree. Unless you're getting a graduate degree in, say, like something highly specialized, like something like in embedded systems or AI and machine learning, for example, then I would say like that's you would definitely get more money doing that, because there's not enough engineers that know those things to begin with. So getting an advanced degree in that will definitely like bump your salary. But I would say if you're just looking to be a mobile developer or front end engineer, etc., those things, you don't really need it. If you're on visa, you probably need to get a master's degree just for you to even get a job. So I think for those people, I would recommend them to actually get the master's degree. Is there any other questions, Jeffrey?
I don't think at this time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, you can keep going.
Sure. So I was just wanted to show you guys some ways you can navigate through some of the sites I told you about. Oh, here, Cracking the Coding Interview. So the latest book is the sixth edition. There was previous editions before that. So I definitely recommend everyone to get this book. You could buy it from Amazon or whatever. Book was created by someone who was a recruiter that worked at Google, Microsoft, and some other of the top tech companies. And I definitely became so much better developer because of this book. So I left the link in the slide for you guys for this. So I would say for anyone, go ahead, buy this book. I don't think it's too expensive now because it's been out for a few years. I think it's like $50 if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's even cheaper. It's 33 bucks now. So yeah, highly recommend everyone to get this book because this will help you prepare for interviews for sure. LeetCode. I like LeetCode because of two things. So there's this Explore tab right here. You could go ahead and, for example, they have their questions split up by chapters, and you can learn a bunch of things. So let me, for example, say I'm bad at data structures. Say I'm bad at linked lists. I could go here, and then they'll give me a bunch of linked list questions to learn on my own time, for example. Also on the Explorers tab, they also have company-based questions. So here, so for these type of questions, you would have to pay for them, but they take like the interview questions that the company asked the last 6 months. So people will go back to the site and like say which questions they were asked during their interview process. And typically companies ask similar questions, or if it's a brand new question, a user will go ahead and put that add that question to the list of to the database of questions that the company asks. So people are aware that this company asks those questions. So that's kind of what I did when I was interviewing for Meta. I went and paid for the premium for 3 months, and I prepared for all the Meta questions on the interviews. You can also come here and just go ahead and no thanks. Just do any of the questions that you see here. As you can see, some are listed at easy, some are listed as medium, and some are listed at hard. If you're new to the site, I will start with easy questions first. Once I could solve easy questions in under 10 minutes, I'll go to medium questions. When I could do those under 15 minutes, I'll go to the hard questions. And the hard questions, you should be able to answer those in under an hour. And don't be afraid, like if it takes you an hour to solve a medium question the first time, don't give up. I've been there, done that. So definitely go ahead, check out the site. I would say the site is probably the most helpful for general software engineer interviews. So definitely take a look at that. And there's this discuss section. I like going here when I'm preparing for interviews to ask them questions. People really give really good advice. And so like there's a study guide question, for example, compensation questions, stuff like that. So don't be afraid to go to this section as well to learn. HackerRank, this is another good site. I like HackerRank because I feel like they give good tutorials on preparing for topics. So I never did the AI one before, but say I wanted to learn to do AI, I could go ahead here, look at a question, and it will teach me how to, it will give me the question in an easy format, and then I could go ahead and choose the language I want to write the question in right here, and go ahead and write it, for example. And so if you want to learn, if you want to see like if you like AI, for example, you could go here. I use it to learn a little Python. I've done it with Java just to practice my Java. You see there's other languages you could use right here. They also have an interview preparation kit. So you could do that here. And it's based on the Cracking the Coding interview. So definitely take a look at this as well. Top Coder. This has been out since I was in college. Like the other two, they weren't out when I was in college. They came out after I graduated. So before, this was just a pure competitive coding platform for us to use. But they started adding different things. Like besides the competitive programming, there's also they also put jobs offerings here, for example. They have design competitions, so they ask people to design applications and stuff like that. They also, what was the other thing they asked to? Let me go to compete real quick. There was one more thing they told people to do. I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me see my slides real quick. Oh yeah, so there's data scientist questions, and so they go ahead and give you some data set, and they want you to solve problems using that data set. And then there's bug bounty, so they want to see how well you can break a code. So they'll give you a problem, and they'll ask you to find as many bugs as possible. And then if you're the best at any of these competitions, they actually give you a little payout for those. So feel free to go on this site. The mocks. So I did want to show you guys, like, for example, on how to look up a course here. For example, maybe we want to learn some algorithm courses. Let's see here. You need to do a better job at this. I remember there was one by MIT on algorithms. Maybe this, let's go to another one.
You could probably just type into Google MIT algorithms course and it'll.
Yeah. Let's see.
And yes, Raymond, we'll be sharing the slide deck. Yep, there you go. I remember you made me take this way back when.
Yeah. This is an example. And you could go ahead and take a look at this and show you all the videos and stuff like that. Also in the mock thing, say you wanted to take a programming course, say you wanted to learn C# for whatever reason, you could actually get a degree from any of these universities. They're showing C++ for some reason, but that's fine. I just wanted to show you that you can enroll into this course, and if you just take the free course, they won't give you a grade for this. But if you pay for it, then you actually get a degree from or a certificate. In this case, you get a certificate from IBM. In another case, trying to give you an example. Here, this C Programming Advanced Data Types course, you'll get a degree from Dartmouth University, for example. They'll give you a little certificate for this class. if you pay for it. So that's why I wanted to show you guys the site. This is not the only mock course. There's a lot of them. There's Udacity, Udemy, etc. But I wanted to show you guys this one because this one's free. I know you could just take this for free, and if you want to upgrade to an actual degree, you can go ahead. A lot of the other mocks is the same thing. Is there any questions on this, Jeffrey, or can I go to the next section?
I think there were a few questions in the chat. Before we get into questions, though, I think there's a good opportunity. Can you just talk about the importance of learning algorithms and data structures and how these topics are crucial to getting a job in the field?
Yeah, so I would say if you want to be a coder, it is literally the most important aspect of coding. You need to, because it's literally the basic fundamental stuff that will help you be able to write efficient code. If you understand data structures, then when you write your algorithms, your code will be nice and concise. Picking the wrong data structure is like picking the wrong design for when you're architecting a project, a programming, a feature, for example. If you pick the wrong data structure, you're pretty much causing yourself to write a lot more code to make your application work and run well, and then your program is probably not written efficiently, so it's slower and it will give a bad user experience at the end of the day. So it's highly important to understand data structures and algorithms. Once you understand that, the next step is to understand design, because it's like I said, if you choose the wrong design, not only you're writing bad code, but if you want to add features on top of that, the additional features will either force you to rework your previous design, which is now you're wasting time that you didn't have to waste if you had thought about the design in the first place. So definitely data structures and algorithms first. Second is design. But since you guys are entry level, you'll have more senior engineers worry about the design. But if you could know your design now, the better you understand design now, the quicker you can move up in your career. So that's my advice for you guys. Know data structures and algorithms first, and then once you understand those very well, move on to understanding design, because that will help you progress in your career.
Yeah, that's great. Let me see who asked questions. There was like 2 of them. Prince asked another question. Let me unmute you, Prince. Prince, you could ask your question out loud. Oh, he's in the library. Okay, no problem. I'll ask your question for you. Prince is always studying. I love that.
Good job, Prince.
Yeah, congrats to Prince. Prince presented for the computer science department demo day the other day, and he created his own compiler. So that was good stuff, Prince. So Prince asked, what language do you recommend for interviews, and do some languages make you a more favorable candidate?
So for example, I would say at Meta or Google, say you were interviewing at Meta or Google or whatever, the big tech firms, they don't care what language you use during the interview. They'll literally let you use whatever language you want, and they'll find someone who's proficient at that language to interview you. I would say, since you guys are in the New York area, Java and Python. I would say, for example, if you know Ruby, just learn Python. If you know C++, learn Java. Unless you're going to go to a specialized shop that only uses C++, most likely you have to know Java instead. If you're, unless you go into a specialized shop that's using Node.js or something, no Python. I would say those are probably the two most popular programming languages right now.
Just to add to that, what about JavaScript? I think I'm always hearing that JavaScript is the most popular these days.
There's the thing with JavaScript is every 2 to 3 years they change the new flavor. When I came out, there was something called jQuery. Everyone needed to know jQuery. Then they came out with AngularJS. I think right now the two flavors is React.js as well as AngularJS 2.0. So I wouldn't say JavaScript is not the most popular language, but there's so many types of JavaScript. You cannot just know the base JavaScript. You probably need to know another language. But I would say JavaScript is more for people who are just going to work on front end, for example. Then at that point, you need to know HTML, CSS pretty well as well. But those are more scripting languages that we don't really consider that as main programming languages. So that's why I said Java and Python.
Makes sense. You're the expert here. Alien N, I'm sorry. I know that's what you have yourself listed as. I'm going to unmute you so you could ask your question out loud.
Oh, that's just a nickname. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, ask your question. Thank you.
I have a question about, like, if I want to become DevOps, like, should I get master's degree, or like if I get bachelor's degree, I'm good?
I think it's like I said before. Unless you're on a visa, I don't think you need a master's degree. That doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue one. You should pursue it if you want to, but I would not say it's a requirement for any of these fields, to be honest. I think if you're on a visa, you probably need to do it, but outside of that, you don't need it.
Because this is because you keep mentioning the visa stuff, I'm just curious, why, if you're on a visa, having a master's degree makes a difference?
I don't, this is more of a situational thing, but it's more of the US government. If you want to eventually get your green card, you have to prove that you're so unique at your skill, you're beyond replacement level by a normal US citizen. So that's one of the main reasons why people come here, get a master's degree that are international. And then, they're working in an industry where there's already high demand for talent, for workers, and there's not enough demand. So that's why a lot of people on H-1Bs come into computer science.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It's always politics. Okay. Jay asked a question. Jay, I'm going to unmute you so you could ask your question out loud. I just got to find you in the chat. There we go.
My question is, how important is maps in software engineering?
Maps as in graphs or?
No, I think he's talking about math in general. How
okay. Okay. I would say it depends what you're doing. For example, if you're doing AI, you have to know math. It's like you cannot do AI machine learning without math. I would say if you're just doing regular development, it's not really that important at all. At least for me, I never felt the need I really need to know math, besides very few scenarios. So in my career, so maybe 1 or 2 times in my career, I was like, okay, I probably needed to know a math problem. But that was more because I was working at banks, and you have to calculate data and stuff. I think if I never worked at a banks, if I never worked at two banks, I probably wouldn't have needed to know math, to be honest. So I think it depends where you're going into as a software engineer and what you're doing. So, but I would say for about like close to 80% of the fields, you probably don't really need to know math too much. Any other questions, Jeffrey?
Sorry, I was on mute. Not as of now. I think you can continue forward.
Sure. Okay. So part of your interview process, you guys should do research on the company you're interviewing with. So here I listed some sites for you guys to use. Actually, I should. I'm sorry, you guys. Should have made it full screen.
Wait, we have one more question that came in, and
yeah,
Mary,
go ahead.
So helpful. We got to give it to her. Mary, I'm gonna unmute you. Just give me a second. All right, Mary, you could ask your question out loud.
Okay, I wanted to ask, what is the best part about your job?
Oh, sure. I would say best part is when I'm delivering my code and I'm seeing that it improves like user happiness with our product. That's the best part because I feel like I'm improving the user experience for our users. And since I'm working in VR, we're trying to get more people into virtual reality. So as more people are happy with our products in VR, more people will start using it. And because more people will start using it, more developers will support it, and there'll be an interesting ecosystem. So for me right now, that's it. I would say a close second is the people I work with. I think that's highly important for you guys. I would say my last job and this one, I'm starting to not just have coworkers. I'm making lifelong friends, which is nice. Even at HP, I have some friends I still talk to this day from there. So when you're in a close-knit group, I feel like it helps you all work together to accomplish goals and get you through the tough times. So those are two big things for me that makes me happy every day. Any other questions, Jeffrey? Or I could continue?
Yeah, you can continue. No more questions.
Okay. So I wanted to show you guys 3 ways to research a company. So here there's Glassdoor. I don't know if anyone used that, but provides company reviews, salary compensation, benefits information, and they actually even list some interview questions in job listings as well. Levels FYI so people go on Levels anonymously and submit their salary information, plus the call me. I'll call her back in a minute. I told her I will call her back at 7, but we're a little bit over. Job listing also provides services to help you through the interview process, such as negotiating a salary. They'll give you some interview prep. That's a new feature they just added recently. So I'll walk you through the site for those. And there's Blind. I suggest everyone to download the Blind app and join as soon as possible. There you'll see it's like an anonymous. The way I view it is it's like anonymous Twitter with the employees from the companies themselves. So you have to give your work email to join, and then the people go on there to actually talk about things going on at the company. So you can also go on there and ask questions like how to prepare for interviews and stuff like that, or search for what people said. in those cases. And it keeps you in the know of what's going on at these companies. So let me just show you some of these sites. So Glassdoor. So I logged in here. I'm going to search for my company, for example. So it gives me basic overview of the company, shows you the rankings and stuff like that of the best places to work and top CEOs. Gives you an about me of the company, for example, and some information about there. Here it gives you a review of like how people would, like if people would recommend their friends work there, if they approve the CEO, stuff like that. And any recent reviews that happen. So you could go to this review page right here, see what people are saying about, they tell you both the interview process as well as a breakdown of what it's like to work there as well. Oh, sorry. So here, someone who's a data scientist recently said that, you know, why the pros and cons to work there. And here's a software developer, a software engineer from Seattle saying the pros and cons to work there, etc. See, there's a bad rating. Sure, there should be one.
I saw approve the CEO.
All the layoffs. Yeah, here's the 2.0s talking about the company culture and stuff. It was a current employee for more than 3 years.
I think it's
hello?
right. Keep going.
Okay. So here, job listings. That might not be interested for you guys. I would say LinkedIn is probably better to search for jobs, but you could look over here. And the good thing is it gives an estimate, and you can filter out by job functions and stuff like that here. Let's see, information technology. Probably won't change much. Oh, okay. Like securities engineer makes somewhere between 175 to 2K here, for example. Salaries. This gives you an overview of the salaries ranges. Let's go to software engineer. So they're saying that the average Meta software engineer is making $219,000 a year in the US. If we were to break it down by people with 0 to 1 year experience, and let's look, won't say New York, okay, we'll just do the US. Someone with 1 to 2 years experience is making, they're saying the average person is making $200,000, give or take, while say someone with 10 to 14, let's see if they have data for that. They're saying they're making about 50K more, for example. And then they give you this confidence thing to say like it's pretty reliable. Let me see, probably if I do 15 years plus, it might not be reliable. No, I guess for Meta it's different. There's some companies that will say not reliable depending on that. Interviews. Here, people are talking about the interview experience, if they accepted the offer, what happened during the interview. So some people actually tell you the interview questions and stuff and whatnot. Here's an example of someone who declined the offer. I guess they had a positive experience, but I guess they got a job offer from somewhere else. So they decided not to go with Meta, for example. So this is a really good place to go to get an idea of what's going on. And I'll show you guys the benefits tab as well. So here it shows you like benefits that the company gives. And what users are rating them. Oh, okay. There's some reviews for the benefits as well. So you could just click through here and see what types of benefits there are. And I can attest top notch in benefits. Personally, I'll tell you guys. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think it's pretty good at Meta, and you can see it's 4.1 stars. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. And they go ahead and talk about the DEI programs and stuff like that. Excuse me. Second thing I wanted to show you guys, levels.fyi. So if you guys want to know how your salaries are stacking up with people within your company, you could come here. I'm an E4 engineer, so I'll show you guys this one. So they say the average E4 engineer is making 263K in the entire US. So I'll go ahead and filter out by, I live in the Bay Area, but since you guys are in New York, I'll show you New York. Maybe I'll show you guys both. So they're saying the average New Yorker is getting 250K as an E4 software engineer. And you can see the base salary is 180K, plus they're getting $55,000 in stock grants a year, plus 15,000 in bonuses, cash bonuses a year. And the stock grants is over a 4-year period, so you get 55,000 based on the stock price. If the stock price is higher, this 55,000 will be higher. I'll show you what the salary in a different locale is. So let's see, Austin, Texas. You see it went down 10K for the average. So salaries are location based. So you guys should be aware of that. I'll show you the Bay Area. The Bay Area is 2,500. So it's almost 260. So it's almost 10K more than New York. And you see the base salaries is actually less in San Francisco on average, but it's the grants, the stock grants are higher, for example, and the cash bonuses are lower. So that's one way to make sure when they ask you what salary you want, you could go ahead and look at this. And they have like a nice little range chart. So they're showing you like the outliers. They show you the outliers on either end and where most people are in the range. So I guess this is in the range right here and here. So 246 to 290 is in the range. If you're making over 300K, then you're an outlier right here. And it also lists, mine's ready. Remind me later. It also lists how many years the person was at the company and how many years experience. So this person right here, 3 years experience, worked all 3 years at Meta, while this person has 10 years experience and only worked 2 years at Meta. This is not me, guys. So, but just wanted to let you guys see different salary ranges here, and you can see this person's making $308,000 a year, and he's a machine learning engineer. While say this person is just a full stack developer making $240, and you see right here the other machine learning AI person is making $280K a year. So you could start telling that machine learning pays more than say full stack or network engineer or API development. So you could look at salaries from that way too. You can also look at benefits here. They don't give reviews like on Glassdoor, but you can see what benefits are there and how you can take advantage of them. So, and they just added this tab, jobs. This wasn't here last time I was here. I'm not sure what this chat tab is for. I never used it before. Let me see. Oh, see, this is new. If you're looking for internships, you could come here and find internships. And they tell you how much they're paying per hour for the internship. So anyone looking for an internship, come here and apply. I'm trying to see what else they're showing here on levels that's different from before. I'll show you guys jobs. They have services. So when I first joined, they only had salary negotiations. So they'll help people after you get an offer, help you increase your salary if you can. They now do resume review, interview prep as well. So feel free to use these as well. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is Blind. Sorry, I didn't log into Blind. Let's see if I can remember. You know what? I probably forgot my password. Let's see if I can go to Meta real quick. Yeah, they have a review sections as well on the app. So you could review it. It tells you what people are saying about how the employees are feeling about the company. Some comments due to the layoffs, pretty popular right now. People are uncertain about the future. Here for Meta posts. So here are some topics people are talking about, like either laying off and stuff like that. Let's see. Interview. Technical project manager.
Gotcha.
So there's a business side project manager, and then there's a technical one. So like, for example, I will work with a TPM. TPM manages, they're the ones managing the budget and timelines for our teams. Most organizations don't have TPMs. They might have a Scrum Master who does that role for the team. While in this organization, they separate out those things. The product manager focus on the product, the whole outlook of the product, while TPM is just like project focused. So, so those are the designations. Let's see. Yeah, for example, this is not recent, of course, but this person is talking about their interview experience with Meta. And then people will go ahead and make comments on that post. So this is a good place to read and ask questions and stuff like that. And it's just not about tech. You could go ahead and check other industries. Like, you guys are in New York, so there's a finance section. This is where I was a lot when I was at JP Morgan. So here, someone is, okay. Someone is like, you guys want to know what the interview process will be like for a new grad at this Jane Street. And only one person commented, because I think this post just came up 21 minutes ago. This will probably by the end of tonight, you probably see like 10 questions. I mean, 10 answers to tell you how to interview for it. So feel free to use this as a resource. Jeffrey, any questions?
Yes, there are a couple.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just gotta go through the chat.
Sure.
Prince asked a question again. Prince,
sure.
Prince, I don't think he can be unmuted because he's in the library. Prince asked, and maybe we'll just run through these questions because it's about to be 7:30. I don't want to keep the students here too late. What do you look for in a company, and why did you choose Meta?
So I would say this. Um, when I first, I want to give you my thought process when I was in your position 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I graduated in a recession. And so for me, what was most important was to join a company that would give me good experience for 2 years. I got lucky and I was able to join Hewlett Packard, and I was excited because it was a big tech company. Even though it was a dying old tech firm, I still was super excited that I got chosen by a big tech company. And since they were more tech focused, I felt like I could at least be close to at least see cutting edge innovation, even though I'm not working on it directly, which is exactly what happened. I got to see how tech companies are run. I would say post after 2 to 3 years, since then, what's most important for me when I'm looking at a company? One, company culture. Two, if whatever team I'm joining, the team culture. If the team culture is toxic, then it doesn't matter how good the company culture is. So you want to make sure you have a good manager, and you also want to make sure that your teammates are good because you're going to want to learn from them. And third thing I look for is I don't care about work-life balance as much as other people, but that might be something that a lot of people like to look into. So keep that in mind when you're applying for companies. And I also have look at benefits now because a lot of them could be very useful for you. When I worked at HP and in here at Meta, being able to go on site for doctor's visits, having good healthcare, dental coverage, and vision insurance is important for me. Having good 401k match is important for me for retirement savings. And also making sure I get a decent salary is important for me. Now, when I first got out, I didn't care what salary I got. I just needed the experience. I would say once you get to the 3 to 5 years experience, that matters less experience and more is, are you able to work in what you want to work in? And are you getting paid well enough to support your lifestyle? Those are important things. So I hope that answers the first part of your question. Second part, why do I like Meta? I like Meta. I was interviewing for Google and stuff. One thing I don't like about Google is they literally kill every product that they work on within 1 to 2 years. That's not dealing with search or ads. So that's why they like Google, for example. But Meta doesn't do that. I feel like Mark knows how to execute a plan. And so I know people hate him on the outside, but from within the company, it's a completely different environment. He's actually pretty chill. And he actually gives us top-notch benefits compared to all the other tech companies. He treats the employees very well. And also, I would say I like that we're constantly working on challenging problems at work. So like I'm working on VR and that whole space is brand new. So we're pretty much building the foundations for VR as it is. So I find that very compelling, at least at this point in my career, that I'm working on something that will be highly impactful in the future. But you guys have to choose what's important for you guys. But that was what was important for me, and that's why I chose Meta.
That's great advice. Before we jump to the next question, just because you brought up Mark, any thoughts on his recent MMA fight?
Well, what's funny is one of my friends sent me the video that he won first place, and he was like, "You
Yes.
guys better start coding." And then, I sent him a gift that I was one of those cats just going like this real quick. So that's the joke right now. Like, if we're not doing well, Mark is gonna kick our butts. So,
That's
but
funny.
yeah. He told us about this journey like a year ago, so we knew about it a while back when he first started. He started like last year. He started practicing M&A and stuff, and he would show us videos and stuff in our internal all hands. So yeah, I'm happy for him. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, if we just want to run through these questions, because I think it's cool and it's getting late. I don't want to keep the students here too late. Mary has a question. Mary, I'm going to unmute you and you can ask your question out loud.
I wanted to know about what you think is going to happen in the VR space in about maybe 5 years. You don't have to go all the way to 5 years, but I've been following the news and it just seems like companies are still investing in the industry, but that maybe some of them are skeptical and that a lot of people in the public are skeptical about it.
So Apple is going to join next month, and a lot of these skeptics will not be skeptical anymore because Apple joined. So I would never base anything based on people's skepticism, because people are always skeptic until some company they like joins. So that's one advice I would tell all you guys. As far as the VR space, I would say you cannot think of the space as just virtual reality. What everyone is working towards is actually mixed reality. So a mixture of augmented reality and virtual reality. The issue is you have to do the groundwork, which is virtual reality, before you can get to augmented reality. So that's why everyone's working on VR now. And then you have like the Quest Pro and whatever Apple comes out with, they're going to be mixed reality devices, which is going to be a mixture of augmented reality with virtual reality. So I would say in the short term, you're going to see more continued focus on growing the space. So I'm trying not to get in trouble. So because I know some things, but I can't tell you guys. So I would say that you're gonna see companies focus on pushing the technology forward, and by technology, I'll say mixed reality forward. And then in the next year or two, you're gonna start seeing more smart glasses and augmented reality glasses. In the meanwhile, you'll see other companies go ahead and push the virtual headset, make them smaller, faster, more efficient, and cheaper, so more people could buy them. And then, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see these mixed reality devices not be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. They're going to be the cost of whatever VR headsets are now. And then those are going to be the mass computer devices. And then that's the end goal. The end goal is to make those devices, because I think even Apple is thinking this is going to be a replacement for the phone. It's going to be some wearable glasses device that gives you a mixture of augmented reality and VR. So mixed reality. That's how I'll answer your question for now.
Cool. Olga has a question. Olga, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi. So There's a question about, there's a lot of certifications on the Coursera, and it's getting like so popular. So I found few of the certificates provided by Meta, and it says that like after you finish it, you're gonna get the certificate. How useful are those certificates?
I think it depends what the certificates are. One thing I will say is that it's not bad to just take the courses because you're improving your skills. But I wouldn't say the certificates will land you a job. It's just like more like it's another piece to show on your resume to show that you can do the job. But I wouldn't say that because you got these certificates, it guarantees you a job. So that's something that's what I would say. I think they're helpful, but it's not helpful enough to guarantee you a job, for example. At the end of the day, you have to show your skills.
So most likely GitHub is our portfolio, right? That's what shows our knowledge, right?
I don't want to say just GitHub. I mean, the certificates will help, right? But at the end of the day, when you're coming for an interview, the interviewer will ask you questions, and you have to be able to answer those questions. What I would say is having those certificates will help when the recruiter is looking for people. The certificate will help you in that point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Olga, for the question. Idris had a question. Idris, I'm going to unmute you so you can ask your question out loud. You should be able to unmute yourself now that I gave you privilege.
Oh, is he muted? Or you could just ask me the question. I can answer it.
Maybe he stepped away from the computer. How much would you say college background comes into play when trying to land internships or full-time offers? Since CUNY isn't a very known college or competitive either, especially for the New York City tech area, it's very competitive.
I don't think college background matters so much. Like if you're doing well in school, and you apply for job internships early, you should be good. I think the problem is a lot of people, they wait until the end of the semester to apply for internships, and that's too late. Like a bunch of people were applying for internships back in January or March, for example. And so there's just not going to be that many internship openings in May. And you're competing with other students from different universities. So you can't think of it as, I could just apply for this internship and they'll just hire me. You gotta think in advance when you're applying for internships. And plus you're in New York City, a lot of the tech companies here know the CUNY schools. So I don't think that's a big deal. Like if you were to leave New York City, then that would be a different story. They don't know CUNY, but you're in New York City, they know CUNY, they know what to expect.
For sure, thank you. All right, let's see. Someone asked, yes, Imanol, we will email you the slides and a recording of the video. Sorry, Idris, we had to give you the ability to unmute, but I'm just seeing these messages now that you're saying you couldn't unmute. Let's see. I guess there's no more, no one has a question right now, but any additional questions from anyone before we wrap up? It's not every day you get to talk to an E4 engineer at Meta.
Hopefully soon to be E5.
Does that mean I'm moving in with you?
No. You got your own place.
Thank you, Mary. Mary said this is a fantastic presentation. Mary, you've been on almost like every call and always engaged. I'm going to put in my LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, and anyone else in the call, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I just want to make sure I connect with Mary specifically because she's just been so supportive. Oh, yes. Camilla, our program assistant, just shared a survey in the chat. You know, if you guys want to keep getting more workshops like this, please fill out the survey. You know, Verizon came and sponsored it this year, and you know, your feedback is gonna, you know, get Verizon and maybe other partners to help support this initiative, right? Just bringing you guys more career building workshops. And as you see, right, we're bringing in real people in the tech industry who are really accomplished and experienced. And I think this is great for you guys and great networking for you guys. Mary, please grab me on LinkedIn. And guys, please fill out the Microsoft form. The form that Camilla just shared. So I guess we could wrap up here if there's no more questions. But Dimitri, you know, thank you so much for giving your time. You know, you gave a wealth of knowledge today. I'm sure the students really appreciated it. I know we went over time a little bit, but you know, this was a great conversation. So just thank you for that. And I don't know if you have any closing remarks, but you know, floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So I left my LinkedIn on the second slide. If you guys want to add me on there, I don't go on there frequently, but when I do, I'll go ahead and read your messages and add you guys. Other thing is just since you guys are going to be incoming software engineers and you might be graduating to a recession like I did, my advice is don't lose hope. One thing I did was it took me about a year to actually get the job at HP. I actually went and did a boot camp just to pass time, for example, just so I could pick up some skills while I was looking for work. And eventually I got the job at HP. Another thing I would say is don't be afraid to look outside of New York City. If the first few months you can't find a job, you'd be surprised how many jobs are out there. And don't be afraid to move somewhere else just to make sure that you could get the experience you need. And I would say those are the two most important things everyone should know. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And I wish you all good luck.
For sure, for sure. Is it okay if we share your email in our, you know, we always send a follow-up email with the presentation and your LinkedIn. Is it okay if we share your email with the students?
Email. I don't really read my Gmail, so I'm not sure that's useful. It's just better to chat with me than to send me emails.
All right. So, or what's the best way to get in contact with you if the students want to get in contact with you? That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I would just say the LinkedIn. Yeah, because I'm not really on IG that much or Facebook. I mean, I would say Facebook Messenger, but then yeah, I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah, not your personal stuff.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Yeah, we'll share your LinkedIn. That's more than fine. You know, thank you for your time. I just also want to give once again a thank you to Verizon. Thank you to Verizon for sponsoring this program. Not sure if someone from the Verizon team is on the call, but if you are, thank you for your support. And to all, you know, have a good night. And thank you to all the students who came and, you know, invested time in themselves to learn more about software engineering. Thank you, Dimitri.
Thank you. You take care.
Yes, enjoy your time in Aruba. Hit the beach for me.
All right, no problem. Bye.
Good night.